This seminar is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Consult with your medical provider for medical advice or treatment. Although the presenters try to keep the information in this seminar as accurate and timely as possible, the speakers and Mather Hospital assume no duty to ensure the seminar is error-free. The speakers and Mather Hospital are not responsible or liable for any claim, loss, or damage resulting from you viewing this seminar.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for our HealthyU webinar series. Today's webinar is Learning to Eat Intuitively and is sponsored by New York Cancer and Blood Specialists. At any time during the presentation, please feel free to enter any questions you may have using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can towards the end of the presentation. Your questions will remain anonymous as always. Today's presenter is Erin Caraher, a registered dietitian at Mather Hospital. Erin is an RD with a passion for health and wellness. She's very enthusiastic about teaching others how to live a healthier life before and after bariatric surgery. Erin, you can go ahead and get us started. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Welcome, everybody. I am excited to talk about this topic. It's something that I'm very passionate about. It's learning how to eat intuitively for a healthier you. And you may or may not have heard about this term, intuitive eating, before. It's becoming more popular and something that I do think it's important to address, especially coming from, a medical background. Okay. So what is intuitive eating? So intuitive eating is a philosophy that completely shuns any type of restrictive diet. It involves eating based on internal cues of hunger, fullness, and satisfaction as opposed to external rules. It's an evidence-based mind-body health approach composed of 10 principles created by 2 registered dietitians. One second. Intuitive eating is a personal process of honoring health by listening and responding to the direct messages of the body, your body specifically, in order to meet your physical and physiological needs. Intuitive eating focuses on the pursuit of health and balance. So with intuitive eating, we go back to thinking about how infants and toddlers actually eat. They're not influenced by anything on the outside. They go based on, I'm hungry, I want to eat, I'm full, I stop eating. So that's kind of the premise, is that we want to go back towards that innate ability to be able to tell our bodies when we want to eat, what helps our bodies feel our best, and start to look inwards at ourselves. Nutrition is a very individualized process, and that's something that as dietitians we always encourage, and that's why no diet fits everybody. It's very individualized, and this is a huge part of it, that we have to look into ourselves and really hone in on what our bodies are telling us. So in intuitive eating, there are 10 principles. I'm going to go over these in detail with the following slides, but just to review the 10 principles. The first one is reject the diet mentality, then honor your hunger, make peace with food, challenge the food police, discover the satisfaction factor, feel your fullness, cope with your emotions with kindness, respect your body, movement, feel the difference, and honor your health with gentle nutrition. We're going to, at the end of this, I'll discuss the book that I'm going to reference a lot and where I got a lot of the information from, and I'm going to briefly go over each principle, but just know that in the book, it goes very in detail. So if this is something that interests you, I'm going to show the book and tell you where to get it if you're interested in learning more about each topic. Okay. So the first principle is reject the diet mentality. And that might seem weird coming from a registered dietitian, because a lot of people think that I just put people on diets. However, it's something that a lot of dietitians actually do not like the word diet, because we're looking for long-term health and wellness. and not to just put someone on diet short term that ultimately could do more harm than good. So diets offer quick fixes for weight loss and that are not sustainable long term. Diets were designed to fail you, yet make you feel like you failed them. The diet industry is worth $72 billion, yet 95% of diets fail. So think of that when you feel like you failed a diet. How would they make so much money if diets actually worked and help with long-term success? They want you to continue to buying their products, buying, their diet plans. And ultimately, it's just wreaking havoc on your mental health. Every diet has pushed your natural intuitive either further and further away, reinforcing you to not listen to your body. So here are some steps on how to reject the diet mentality. So first, recognize and acknowledge the damage that dieting causes. For some people, it's poor mental health, poor body image. And for others, it's really serious eating disorders, whether it's binge eating, anorexia, bulimia. These are all dieting, causes a lot of those issues to come up. Be aware of the diet mentality is number 2. So being aware when your brain starts to go into that diet mode. And to the right, you can see the chain of events that is just a never-ending cycle. You diet to regain control. You feel deprived. You have your overwhelming urge to eat since you've deprived so much. You binge. You feel out of control and ashamed. And then you want to diet again. So it's a never-ending cycle and a diet mentality, and it's really, really hard to break, especially when you've been doing it for years and years and years, which I know I have a lot of patients that have been, and it takes a lot of work, but just know that it is possible to get out of this cycle once we start to heal our relationship with food. Number 3, get rid of the dieter's tools. This might again sound funny coming from a dietitian, but a lot of people are well-meaning when they give macronutrient amounts, calories, protein, fat, carbs, amounts and numbers. But ultimately, it can be more harm than good when we start to focus too much on the details of the numbers. It's okay I have people tracking what they're doing more to just see how long they're going in between eating, being more conscious of what exactly they're doing, but to hone in on exact numbers. Your body fluctuates daily on what it needs and wants. So either you have extra calories at the end of the day, but you're not hungry and you feel like you have to eat them, or your body actually requires more that day and you stop yourself from eating because you needed you really needed more. So that's what we kind of want to get rid of. Number 4, be compassionate towards yourself. This is a long road and a long journey for a lot of people that have been dieting their whole lives. So give yourself some grace that it takes a long time for these mentalities to shift. Okay. Principle number 2, honor your hunger. Our bodies need adequate fuel to run efficiently. Just like a car needs adequate gas to run efficiently, we have to remember, why do we eat? What is the biological reason why we eat? Well, our body needs fuel. Our body needs energy in the form of calories that we eat for our organs, our cells to function. If we laid in a bed all day, didn't move at all, our body would still require energy in the form of calories running for breathing, for digestion. All the different processes in our body require energy in the form of calories. So just remember that when your body is telling you that it's hungry, it's giving you a sign that it needs fuel to run. So we don't want to ignore these signs that our body is telling us we're hungry. Otherwise, this can trigger a primal drive to overeat. Once you reach the moment of excessive hunger, all intentions of conscious and mindful eating are irrelevant. So learning to honor this biological signal sets the stage for rebuilding trust in yourself and in food. So picture this. You are good at work all day. You pack your little lunch, you have a yogurt, you have your salad, and then you get home and you're starving because you didn't pack enough to eat. And now you're making dinner and maybe you're overeating, you're picking on things that you see, it doesn't matter because your body is gonna go into this primal drive to eat. It just wants to eat. And by the time that you're done with dinner, you now ate so many random snacks or things you can get your hands on because you're so hungry. And now you feel like, oh, well, I just cooked this dinner, now I have to eat. Now this is going against everything that, you know, your body really wants and needs. Instead of maybe just making sure you had good, balanced, satisfying meals and snacks to get you through the day, have a snack when you get home, and then have your dinner. So honor your hunger. When your body is telling you that it's hungry, it wants to eat. So, and we want to base it on the hunger and fullness scale. And this is something that I do like to, again, if you're interested in intuitive eating and recognizing your own, what your body is telling you to do, you can use the hunger and fullness scale. So it's a scale that goes from 1 to 10, and it starts with 1 being starving and 10 is painfully stuffed. 1, you're so hungry you'll eat anything. You might feel starved, dizzy, crabby, headache. 2, you're hangry, you're very hungry, it's hard to think straight. Number 3, maybe your stomach is growling, you're hungry, stomach growling with hunger pangs. Number 4, you're a little hungry, you're going to think about what you want to eat, but you can feel like you can wait. 5 is neutral, you don't feel hungry or full. 6 is satisfied, you are nicely satisfied. 7 is pleasantly full, you're not comfortably full, but are not overly full. 8, a little too full, you're stuffed and feel overly full and bloated. 9, you're uncomfortably full, super full, clothes feel tight. If you eat more, you'll feel sick. And 10 is painfully stuffed, extreme fullness. You could feel nauseous, you could feel sick, not a good feeling. So you want to enter a meal when you're hungry, like you're starting to think about what you want, your stomach is maybe growling, so maybe between like a 3 and a 4. And you want to leave the meal at a 7, like a 7 or a 6 or a 7 in between there, where you're comfortably full. So you're full, but you're not pushing yourself to the point of being uncomfortable. Okay. Principle number 3, make peace with food. So please stop the fight with food and give yourself permission to eat. Once you anticipate you're going to start restricting, this leads to intense feelings of deprivation that leads to uncontrollable cravings. This ultimately leads to binging. Each impending diet brings with it more fear of deprivation, then comes more overeating, loss of self-control, and decreased self-esteem. So throw out the preconceived notion that certain foods are good and others are bad. Eat what you want and eat without anticipation of diet or restricting. As a dietitian, again, I want to say, of course, all foods contain different nutrients. We can value those nutrients and see the beneficial factors they provide. But what happens is when we just think of good, food as good and bad, it leads to restriction, which ultimately leads to binging. So please, make peace with food. We're going to try not to have that good and bad, black and white mentality. We want to area where a healthy lifestyle lives, where we eat all types of foods. We eat nourishing foods for the sake of our health, but we're not just eating diet foods because I'm on a diet and I just want to lose weight fast. It's not, again, 95% of the time, it's not going to work. And if anything, it can cause mental health issues. Okay, principle number 4, challenge the food police. So whether it's your own inner food police or someone on the outside telling you not to consume certain foods because they're bad and only to consume the good food, we need to challenge the food police to become true intuitive eaters. In a random survey of over 2,000 adults, 45% of people were found to feel guilty after eating foods that they like. Why? Because diets have programmed us to feel guilty if we go off plan. And off the plan usually includes foods that are enjoyable and provide satisfaction, and we need to honor that. When we don't, we tend to find foods to satisfy us. This typically doesn't happen, and then we binge later saying, oh, well, I'll start again tomorrow, I'll be good tomorrow. So here are some examples of diet rules that have been created to keep us healthy, but in turn go against our intuition. Sweets are bad for you. I shouldn't eat anything after 6 p.m. Processed carbs should be avoided. If I eat breakfast, it will just make me more hungry throughout the day. Dairy products should be avoided. Fruit is sugar and should be avoided. Bread, pasta, and rice will make me gain weight. Even though there has been a ton of evidence to refute these thoughts, they've been so ingrained in so many people's minds that it's taken years to loosen their hold and replace them with reality. I want to say that I know people might be thinking, but aren't sweets bad for you? I heard all these things on the internet, or a friend said something. And I just want to say, yes. Now, when we're looking at the quality of nutrition, if you're comparing something like chocolate or a candy bar to a piece of fruit, even though some people still think fruit is bad, yes, there's going to be a nutrient difference. You know, there's going to be, the fruit is going to have more fiber and antioxidants and phytonutrients and all that good stuff. And the chocolate is just going to have, you know, sugar, some fat, maybe some caffeine or whatever else is in it. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't taste good. We have to honor that yeah, chocolate tastes good, and you shouldn't feel guilty for thinking that. It does play a role in our diets, and it can healthfully play a role in our diets. Actually, the problem is more when we restrict it, but we really want it. And then we find ourselves at some point binging on it and not having a healthy relationship with it. So I just want to know that all of these rules, when there's so many more, there is nothing that, you know, you want to be able to have a healthy relationship with food and have all types of foods in your diet. Okay, principle number 5, discover the satisfaction factor. So think back to the last time you ate. Were you truly satisfied from the meal, or were you trying to play by the rules of diet culture? Why is satisfaction so powerful? The reason is because we're driven by our unmet needs. We want what we can't have, and we'll do whatever it takes to calm down the sense of deprivation that arises when our needs are not satisfied. Have you ever found yourself eating fruit or diet desserts, rice cakes, when you really wanted a cookie? Some people will eat 10 times more diet foods in hopes of becoming satisfied instead of just eating the cookie. So when you're going to sit down for a meal or a snack, I want you to try these steps. Ask yourself what you really want to eat. Then discover the pleasure of palate. Enjoy the taste, texture, aroma, appearance. Make your eating experience more enjoyable. Remember the 3 S's of satisfying eating. Eat slowly, eat sensually, and savor each bite. And don't settle. If you don't love it, don't eat it. And check in with yourself throughout the meal. Does it still taste good? The decline of liking the food occurs within minutes of eating a particular food, which is highly influenced by sensory aspects of food, such as flavor, texture, or aroma. Now, I do want to mention that it's not always available to have exactly what we want when we want it. And sometimes we do have to eat because maybe we have a meeting and we're not going to be able to eat when we actually are truly hungry. And this is called planned hunger. So just know that there are exceptions to some of these. We do have to plan for certain things. And we don't always, again, have exactly what we want at that specific time. So just remember that you got to work with what you have, and you do the best you could do with intuitive eating, but satisfaction is really important. Principle number 6, feel your fullness. After years of being on strict diets and following meal plans, you may find it difficult to identify hunger and fullness cues. So the first step to feeling your fullness is to bring more consciousness and awareness to your meals. Observe the signs that show you're comfortably full. Pause in the middle of eating and ask yourself how the food tastes. What is your current hunger level? And go based on the hunger fullness scale that we went over earlier. When you finish eating, ask yourself where your fullness level is and see where you can learn from the experience. Note about what you like about the feeling or what you want to change about next time. And the best way to increase awareness during eating, eat without distraction. I know this is very hard for a lot of people, but it's really important to try to be present during your meals, chew your food thoroughly, and really taste your food. Do a taste and satiety check during the meal so you can see if you need more or if you're satisfied and are done. And remember, when you get hungry, you can eat again. I have people with, again, the rule of I can't eat after 6 or 7 p.m. So they overeat at dinner, or maybe they overeat before dinner or before that specific time because they think that they're not going to be allowed to eat again. When having a small nutrient-dense snack before bed is actually fine. If you're hungry and your body's telling you that it's hungry, that it could be beneficial to have that snack actually. So just remember that when you get hungry, you can eat again. There's not a rule telling you that you can't, other than in your head. Principle number 7, cope with your emotions with kindness. Anxiety, loneliness, boredom is the biggest one, and anger are emotions we all experience. Dieting can trigger emotions, which can lead to using food as a primary coping mechanism. And I say boredom because a lot of patients that I see eat out of boredom, especially the nighttime, finally getting to sit down in front of the TV and you're relaxing and its triggers boredom eating. So food can be love, comfort, and a reward, and it's reliable, which is why so many people cope with food. But I want you to know that food will never fix any of these feelings. You will ultimately have to deal with the source of the emotion. Eating comfort foods can be part of a healthy relationship with food if you do it while staying present and without guilt. So how do you cope with emotional eating? Ask yourself if you're hungry. If you are, eat. Honor you're hungry. If you're not, what are you feeling? Try to write out your feelings. Call a friend and talk about the feelings. Talk about the feelings and record them on your phone. Sit with your feelings and experience them if you can. Or talk with a therapist. Ask yourself what you need. Maybe you're really tired and stressed, and no amount of food can replace pure exhaustion. Principle number 8, respect your body. Accept your genetic blueprint. If your shoe size was a 9, why would you try to squeeze into a size 7? You wouldn't, because it wouldn't fit and it would be uncomfortable. Why do we have similar expectations about our body? Respect your body so that you can feel better about who you are. All bodies deserve dignity. Science has shown us that DNA programs each body's size and shape. So rather than focusing on changing your body, now is a time to treat your here and now body with the respect it deserves. A lot of people have unrealistic expectations about what their body should be, and there are a lot of people out there striving to be just 10 pounds less. And this might not be realistic for their body, which means they have to take extreme measurements to achieve that, and that's going to cause more harm than good, like body image issues, eating disorders, and poor mental health. Respecting your body includes fueling it with nutrient-dense foods, exercising, staying hydrated for the sake of health, not to achieve an unrealistic body image. I just want you guys to remember one thing too. If we all ate exactly the same, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, we would still all look very different. So you're looking at somebody comparing yourself. that's never going to be you, because that's not your body. That's not your genetics. That's not your DNA. So again, respecting your body means still giving it good fuel and doing all things to provide health. But we're not going to look like some of these, supermodels or people on Instagram or wherever you see where you're comparing yourself. Principle number 9, movement. Feel the difference. So shift your focus to how movement makes you feel rather than focusing on calorie burning effects of exercise. If you focus on how exercise makes you feel from working out, such as energized, it will help you to be more consistent with it. Typically, when we focus on exercise solely for weight loss, it becomes stressful. We also want to be careful that we're not punishing ourselves with exercise. For example, I ate that cupcake at the work party and now I have to go burn it off and go for a run. You'll create a negative correlation in your brain with exercise. So where your brain thinks exercise equals punishment. Why would you ever want to exercise when your body feels like it's a punishment? So there's so many reasons to exercise. Go to the next slide, sorry. And here are some reasons to exercise, and you can absolutely come up with some on your own as well. These are just some examples. Exercise has been shown to decrease stress, improve sleep, stabilize your blood sugar, lower blood pressure, increase muscle mass, have some alone time, especially for you busy parents. I'm a parent of a toddler, so I know that it's my alone time. Improve immune system, reduce risk of certain cancers. It'll help you to drink more water if that's something that you struggle with, getting enough water in, and increase mental focus. So next time you exercise, I want you to think about all the reasons to exercise aside from just weight loss. Okay, and principle number 10, honor your health with gentle nutrition. Obviously, nutrition is important. I mean, a lot of us know the basics of nutrition, especially people that have been dieting their whole lives. We don't need to tell you that having a piece of fruit over a bag of potato chips is better for you. Obviously, making food choices that honor your health and your taste buds while making you feel your best, that's what we're striving for. When you remove the guilt from eating, it allows you to feel the physical sensation you derive from eating. We want to eat nutrient-dense foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, protein, fats, and we also want to enjoy the food and make sure it provides satisfaction so that we can move on and that we're not spending our whole life consumed by food. The role of nutrition in preventing chronic disease has been well established in the scientific community. So obviously we know the importance of eating a balanced diet and having all of these nutrient-dense foods. And when you start to develop a healthy relationship with food and have all foods, not have them off limits, you actually might realize that a lot of these foods that you thought you liked so much were just good because they were off limits. So you might realize, like, I don't even really like that candy bar. It's not even that good. I actually am craving something that will give me better energy. Like, your body is smart. It wants to tell you what it likes. And know that portion control is not an issue for intuitive eaters. I know a lot of people have portion control issues, but again, when you look into yourself and you really start to be accountable for the ins and outs of what your body is telling you, your body knows what it's doing. It's going to tell you when to stop eating. It's going to tell you when you're hungry again. You're going to have hungrier days than others. And that's all normal and natural. There are many misconceptions about intuitive eating, and it can be very confusing. A lot of people feel that intuitive eating is just saying, eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, and you can eat whatever you want when you want it. The premise is to live a happy, healthy, comfortable life, free from the stress of dieting and learning to make peace with food. If you're interested in learning more about intuitive eating, please refer to the book Intuitive Eating by Evelyn Trevoli and Elise Rush. It's very good. It goes into details about all these topics, way more in detail than I was able to go into today. You can get it on Amazon. You can go on their website, Intuitive Eating. I think it's .org or .com. If you Google intuitive eating, it'll come right up. So please refer to that book if you have any questions. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Erin, for taking the time to present today. Your presentation was fantastic. We'll take a couple of minutes to answer any questions. So if you have any, please enter them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. I know we have a couple. I just had my surgery September 15th, and lately I've been feeling dizzy and my sugar is dropping. What could I do differently to help that?
So when I was talking about intuitive eating, with our bariatric community, it's a little bit different. We actually, I'd probably recommend you to call the office, because if you're on like part of the diet progression, it's a little bit different. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I just had my surgery and lately I've been feeling dizzy and my sugar is dropping. What could I do differently to help that? Okay. I think it's important to note too that some of these questions, if they're super personal, Erin will probably refer you to your provider for further care.
Yes, I was going to say, if you're one of our bariatric patients, like I would recommend to call the office, because there's a lot of things that it could cause, and you're in a different situation than someone that didn't have bariatric surgery. However, because just remember too, I am a bariatric dietitian, which is why I see the importance of weight loss and how it benefits people, but learning to create a healthy relationship with food is also important. I would, if you're on, it depends if you're on medications, maybe sometimes what happens is your medication has to be cut. If you were on any diabetes medication, that's one issue. If you're still having blood sugar issues, again, it might be a little bit more individualized, and I would talk to your provider or come talk to us and call the nutrition office.
Somebody missed the first few minutes of the presentation. Will the slides be sent out to the audience? Erin, if Erin is okay with her slides being shared, I'd be more than happy to send a PDF version of these slides for your reference. So you'll receive that in an email along with a survey if you could answer those questions. It just helps us plan our future content. So you guys will all receive an email with that. The next question, with respect to your body, what are good weight guidelines to follow? Assume someone's DNA is that they are predisposed to be endomorph. The current weight guidelines don't seem to align.
The current weight guidelines are, it's hard to say. They've been known to be pretty outdated, but it's something that we refer to because we have to have some sort of clinical guidance. Again, a lot of things in this is very individualized, and we go by not so much the like BMI, like we do that in our clinical office. But again, it's more like, as a dietitian, we focus more on the habits and see what you're doing exactly on a daily basis. We don't focus so much on the number on the scale, actually. I know that sounds, again, strange coming from a dietitian. I like to see your habits more. I look at the whole picture, not just food. What are you doing with, sorry about that. I focus on what you're doing on an everyday basis. Are you staying hydrated? Are you exercising? Because a lot of times someone's BMI might be considered overweight and they're extremely healthy. They're free of disease. They're eating a balanced, healthy diet. They're exercising. And that's what I mean with accept your genetic blueprint, that sometimes that's where your body was meant to be if you're doing all the things to support your health. So I hope that answered the question.
Great. We have a few more here. What is physiological hunger and compulsive eating?
Physiological hunger is you're getting like the signs that you're hungry. So your stomach is growling, you're thinking about food, your blood sugar is starting to drop, like you know that you need to eat. And the compulsive need to eat is more of a emotional eating. So you see something on the TV maybe, and I don't know, you see like a McDonald's commercial and all of a sudden you want McDonald's, and it's no more because environmental that you saw that. Now that you're having a compulsion, like I need McDonald's, or I want something similar to McDonald's. Oh, I have French fries in the freezer. Maybe I should make those. Where that wasn't you like actually, oh, I'm really hungry and I'm going to make a balanced meal, and ooh, potatoes sound good, and I'll make potatoes or have that part of my meal. It's more of a compulsion to eat that thing because like, more of like from an emotional boredom or compulsive side of it.
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting? I've been told it can reduce breast cancer recurrence, but I'd rather eat.
Intermittent fasting, personally, yes, they've shown some benefits in certain areas, and I'm not saying cancer, because to be honest, I'm not sure about that. In certain ways, for some, that works for some people. For most people, it does not work. I would say, just from experience with patients, it becomes a diet and it becomes restrictive and it causes you to binge. And if it's anything that you can't see yourself doing long term, don't do it. If you can't see yourself not going, going whatever it is, 12 hours without eating or whatever it might be for the rest of your life, then do not do it, because that's not realistic for you. It's going to mess with your body. It's going to create, again, like poor mental health, possibly poor body image, potentially eating disorders. I know for me specifically, I would never be able to do that personally. If I go more than 3 or 4 hours without eating, I am, again, the hunger fullness scale, I would be on 1, and like, it just would not be it would not be good. So you have to know your own body and what works for you. And I do know some people that really like it and it really works for them and it's their lifestyle. And I meet people where they are. Rarely have I seen it work with a lot of my patients specifically.
What is dumping syndrome?
So dumping syndrome in bariatric patients is typically when it correlates with overconsumption of typically sugar and carbs, where the food dumps too quickly into the large intestine. It causes like you have to lay down, you feel very faint. It has a lot of clinical symptoms, and there's early and late dumping there, but it's something that usually happens after a bypass or a sleeve surgery. It doesn't mean if you have sugar, it's definitely going to happen. It's just a potential with specifically sugar that it can cause dumping syndrome.
I sometimes find it hard to tell if my stomach is hungry or if it's coming from just a craving I'm having.
So when you do that, what I want you to do, if you can't tell if you're hungry or not, again, tune into your body, see what you feel. Is my stomach growling? Is it giving me any of those physical signs? You can always set a timer for 10 to 20 minutes. Give yourself some time. If in 10, 15, 20 minutes, you're still thinking about food, you're probably hungry. See when was the last time I ate? What did I have? That can also contribute to it, because some foods provide more satiety than others. But usually if you're still thinking about eating, if you're not able to detect those other signs, if you're thinking about it, you're probably hungry and you need to eat.
Okay, great. That looks like all the questions we have. I just want to thank you, Erin, for taking the time to present with us today. If you guys could please fill out that survey when we send it to you, and you'll also get us, a copy of the slides just for your reference. Everybody, please enjoy the rest of your day and stay well.
Thank you.